So Ashley meets a guy on Bumble. She goes out on a date with him, after talking for a while on the phone. She goes out on a date with him. He did all the things, everything went wonderful, right? He brought her flowers that she mentioned in conversation. He was opening doors, he pulling out chairs, he's doing everything. They're having good conversation, found out they had a lot in common, right? So she's flying high on the way home. She gets home. Who do you want to tell about this that just happened to you? This amazing thing that just happened to you. Even if it doesn't last, you want to tell someone. So you go and tell your best friend, right? And then your best friend tells you that, hey, that guy was in my inbox. You know, I think he likes me too. And so And Miss Ashley didn't say anything. She decided she wasn't going to, approach the subject with the guy. Not that night. Okay. The next time they spoke, the guy noticed that her conversation was a little dry and a little dull. And so he asked. He said, what's going on? You're not your normal self, right? And then she says, well, my friend said that you were in her inbox as well. Now he doesn't deny it. He doesn't even know the friend. But what the thing is, he says, well, we are only dating. They've only been on one date. So and they met on a dating site. So which means that it's plausible that he was in multiple women's inbox. So what was there to deny? Just like she might have responded to multiple men who might have come and, shown interest in her, right? So she just couldn't take it. She breaks it off with him. She goes back and tells her friend, hey, I broke it off with him. I don't like that, whatever. The friend says, oh man, he wasn't in my inbox. Okay. She says, why would you tell me that? I really liked him. I really liked him. She says, I don't know. Now, Miss Ashley goes on to say that, you know, this same friend went behind her and dated a guy that she had dated, that she had broken it off with. And so, yeah. But the story doesn't end there. It actually gets deeper because the real story isn't about him. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he did what people dating do. A lot of people, they might date multiple people. They might, be attracted to multiple women. And so that's why the story isn't about him. And they had only been on one date. The real story is about the influence that the friend had over Miss Ashley, right? So the friend, instead of casting doubt on the friend's story because of the friend's history in the past, she went straight to the guy and said, hey, blah, 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 you know, I don't like you being in my friend's inbox, even though he doesn't know her friend. They're all on Bumble. So, I don't like you doing that. She breaks it off instead of questioning her friend's motives because her friend had a history of going behind her, right? It seemed like a little bit of jealousy there for her that she didn't recognize, right? That's why healing creates discernment in your relationships. And that's what we're always talking about on this channel is healing. And healing creates discernment. You would have been able to see through that. As a matter of fact, if you were healing in your journey, you might not even have that person as your friend, let alone your best friend, right? So healing changes how we see relationships. When people begin to heal, they start looking at relationships differently. Instead of focusing on what happened in the moment, they begin asking deeper questions and patterns and intention. Like, why is she telling me this? I am so happy right now. Why is she telling me this? There was no, okay, he was in your inbox, but he went out with me. So there was no need for her to even know that unless she was planning on talking to him too. It said healing create awareness. Awareness changes how we interpret situations. So we would understand that, this no. Like I said, I would even say, like, wait a minute, why is she why the first situation with her going behind the man, behind her friend with her ex-boyfriend would have eliminated, me believing anything that she said in the first place. But it's past behavior matters, right? This situation did not happen in isolation. Earlier, she did it before. So healing teaches us to take past patterns seriously instead of dismissing them. Like she really believed her friend. She really took that and ran with it. Because when we heal, we start to recognize that patterns tend to repeat themselves in us, in other people. They're all going to come back around. So, and we also see that, when we begin to heal, that our friends may not be our friends, patterns reveal character, the character of the friendship was not good. And a lot of us stay in these friendships because we get lonely. We don't have anyone else to talk to. So we keep that person around who is more likely a frenemy than your best BFF, right? She gave her too much access in her life. The difference between access and influence, the friend did not just have access to her life, she had influence on how she interpreted situations. This is why we talk about every time I go to record, my voice starts doing this. It was fine before this. But this is why we talk about healing. It's so important, for us to really discern these situations, right? So one message from her friend was enough to introduce doubt into something that had previously made her happy. I can tell based on this, like I said, she still had some work to do because her friend would, like I said, would not have been able to easily disrupt her happiness. Another thing that looks like she blamed the man instead of her friend, instead of questioning her friend. She blamed him. That's why she broke it off with him so quickly. So, not to say that some are not to blame, some are to blame, but in this situation, I don't think he had to own any of how their interaction between each other. Access to your life should not automatically equal influence over your mind, right? So when you heal, you make better choices in people and friendships. And you're able to self-reflect. You're able to say to yourself, hey, is this person for me or is this person against me? You don't make decisions from your brokenness. You don't have to tolerate anything that someone gives you. Where the doubt was placed, like I said, discernment examines motives of people. Healing creates discernment. We start to trust ourselves. Guaranteed, she probably, she probably thought something about her friend, but she didn't trust it. She did not trust herself. She did not trust herself enough to question that friendship. And a lot of us take the role where we're not going to break up a friendship over a man, but I don't think it was about the man. Again, I don't think it was about the man at all. It was about their relationship, their unhealthy interaction with one another, right? Another thing is history can keep us connected to unhealthy relationships. Many people stay connected because they share history. I had a lady say in a video that if you haven't had a friend 10 or plus years or more, then that's a red flag. She's she was talking to men about women. If she hasn't had a friend 10 or plus years, well, I guess I must be a flag. Because when I started to going through my healing journey, a lot of people fell off. And that's what's going to happen. But sometimes that's one of the things that keeps us from going through our journey, is because we don't want to lose those familiar people. Many people stay connected to relationship because simple shared history, time invested, memories together can make it difficult to recognize when a relationship is no longer healthy. Healing allows us to appreciate the history we share with someone without allowing history to control our present decisions. I've seen the most toxic friendships where you can clearly see, and the girl knows that her friend hates her guts, but they would rather keep that person close than not have anyone at all. Right? Healing history explains a friendship, but it does not always justify continuing it. That friend, Miss Ashley, if she's listening, she needs to eliminate that friendship. Even if it costs being alone and you talking to yourself sometimes, just to get things out. But she needs to end that friendship. Because that person not only doesn't like her, that person is very envious of her. And that's going to cause her a lot of heartache in the end, right? And I go back to why healing is so important, because when we heal, your discernment sharpens, not just about men, but about everybody around you. It could be a family, it could be friends, anyone around you. You start to notice where you didn't notice before. Like I said, that person doesn't like you. Whether it's a sister, a mother, a friend, And we become more thoughtful about the people we allow to influence our thinking, our happiness, our decisions we make in life. Including yourself. So you're even more thoughtful about how you influence and make decisions. It's not, you no longer, random, going with emotions. You're actually logical, you're self-reflecting, you're able to not only use your discernment for other people, but use it for yourself. Did he seem like the kind of guy that would sleep with your friend? Did she seem like the kind of friend that would sleep with your man? Right? So the question for today is, have you ever realized that someone in your circle had more influence over your thinking or happiness than they should have had? Right? I've always been strong-willed, but I know that a lot of times that's why I'm not in for certain friendships today. That because we are not aligned. But yes, in the past, people have greatly influenced how I have allowed people to greatly influence how I've interacted and how I've done certain things in my life, whether it was relationships, friendships, family, whoever, you know. So I just want to say I appreciate you guys for sticking around for this journey. And I want to let you guys know